Ringside with Emma Miscue and Ryan Steves.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Ringside for episode 4. We've received a tremendous amount of feedback, positive and constructive, topics to bring forward in this type of show. And what we're really trying to do here, so many of you know already, is to tackle some of the things that are being talked about most at the youth sports level. These are things we hear and see as we navigate our own experiences with the youth sport world. And just really fortunate to be doing this alongside Emma Miscue, of course. And what a year it's been for Emma. Team Homan had just an incredible season, probably one of their best, if not the best, across all of curling. I think they went 75-8. We can have our next special guest talk about this. But for a team in curling at the level that they're at, to finish, I think they went through made the finals in every event they entered this year. And that just shows the type of mindset that it takes to succeed at the highest levels. And so with that, this week, we're really, really, honored to have another member of Team Homan join us for a discussion. And that is Sarah Wilkes. Sarah is the lead curler on Team Homan. One of her worldly skills is the sweeping. When you watch Sarah and Emma sweep, it's incredible. The level they're at relative to others is amazing, and just a key part of Team Homan and the success that they've had this year and for the last few years. And one of the really interesting things that you can look forward to with our discussion as Sarah joins us in a minute is Sarah was an elite athlete outside of curling as well. She's won some national championships at the Canadian University level with Laurier, so she'll talk about that. Not to mention curling championships also at Laurier. But I think one of the really interesting things that parents and athletes alike can really pull from Sarah, as you'll hear in a minute, is her lessons on managing the ups and downs. We talk a little bit about being that goldfish, like Ted Lasso does, and coping with the ups and downs. And that's extremely apparent in curling from shot to shot. You really have to get over those tougher moments, including those highs, and get over those and move on. And another really, really interesting thing that I really pay attention to is, when you ask Sarah, what were those little seeds planted for you as a young athlete that really helped shape your career path and success path as you went all the way through up to the Canadian level with softball, as you'll hear, and then to the international success she's had in her own right, and then most recently with Team Homan. So very fortunate for Emma to have convinced Sarah to step into our studio here and share some of her experiences for curling fans and for just sports fans alike. So really, really excited to have Sarah join us today.
Welcome, yes. Sarah. Sarah and I have been teammates for 6 years now. Something. Have known each other since we were little kids, but finally joined up and started playing together right as COVID hit. So that was fun. And so 5 years then, I guess that's the math. But we've had a great run so far. So really excited to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks so much, Sarah. It's great to have another world-class athlete. I've certainly been following your season along. And actually the last since you've joined too, it's been just an incredible run, particularly the last couple of years. And, as I look down the accomplishments that you and Emma and the rest of the Homan Empire, I guess we're calling you, have had, just a series of world championships, which we'll talk about, the Scotties. The list goes on and on. It's actually too long. I wrote it all down and I said, I can't go there. There's too many of them. So let's start with the Worlds. This was a back-to-back effort for your team. And it was in Korea. For those of us who followed along, maybe I would just love to hear from both you and Emma about what that ride was like. And this was a little different, right? This was over in Korea. So you jumped, I don't know how quickly you jumped on planes after winning the Scotties. Just an incredible turnaround time So maybe you can just let us know what it was like to head over and represent Canada in Korea.
It was a whirlwind for sure. I think we had, I don't know, Emma, like 10 days or something. It was not a very long time after winning the Scotties, getting home, recovering, start training again, getting ready for Worlds. And then we're on a plane to Korea. I think the flight was like 14 hours or something. It was really long. And when we got there, we were just like adjusting to the time zone and prepping to be able to compete in the next 5 days, because we got there on Monday and competition started on Saturday. So it really was a whirlwind, and just us kind of finding a way to get ready to compete and be at our best with all of those things kind of working against us. But we banded together and figured out a way to get ready for that first game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'm really interested in, I think, just to orient you, Sarah, we have such a diverse background of people listening to this, and I think we've really struck a chord with, sports families in general. And one of the things that I was the most impressed with was, how do you manage winning the Scotties again after so many of these, and the complete high, followed by let's get ready now for Worlds, which is a whole different beast. I know, talking to Emma, the schedule was crazy. Hearing, I'm staying up late, catching you guys at 1 a.m. and then you're back on the ice at 7 a.m. the next day. So the schedule seemed pretty intense. How did you and Emma and Sarah and the team manage that, just high to travel and then getting your minds around the Worlds?
It's a grind, right? We're just going out there and trying to like compete at the highest level, but also know that like there's going to be highs and lows along the way. And coming off the high of the Scotties, like you said, Ryan, you have to give yourself some time to enjoy it, to let that sink in. Because you never know when it's going to happen again, right? So we all kind of took some time. We enjoyed it. We celebrated with each other, went home, recovered for a couple of days, and just kind of let that sink in, and then kind of stop the clock on that and kind of put our eyes forward and to prep for the Worlds and figure out what we need to improve on from the Scotties, what we need to maintain, and how can we do that heading into Korea.
I find having one, like a trials going into an Olympics and having more time versus this 2-week turnaround, less than 2 weeks by the time you had to leave, you're almost still, you enjoy it, but you're still almost on autopilot and you're still feeling it. You're still, and I'm like, you're rolling. Whereas like a kind of medium, bigger break was almost hard to navigate the timing of that. And like, when do you peak again? We just tried to keep our peak up there. But it is definitely a challenge because these events are long. Yeah. Like we're playing for 10, 11 days, and then we have to hop like back, or we're winning and then have to hop back on a plane 10 days later and then go through it all again. And like, I know that it's physically demanding, but Sarah, do you want to talk like a little bit about the physical element of the 15 games that we had to play? Because I don't think a lot of people understand how physically demanding curling is.
Absolutely. It's like Emma and I, we play front end, so we're both sweeping, and you're on your feet for like upwards of 6 hours a day when we're playing 2 games a day. And when we're sweeping, we're getting our heart rates like up near our like maximum capacity. And we're doing that for like 10, 11 days. And it's really hard on the body. Like the Scotties, I was not doing well. My body was not okay. And we actually were able to bring a chiropractor with us to Worlds, who we all got, like, we spent time with him, like, at least once a day. We're getting work done. Like, something was hurting, and he was able to just, like, maintain our bodies, help us recover. But yeah, there's a lot to it, a lot to, like, sweeping and just, like, being on your feet for that many hours a day. Like, I don't know if you've talked much about sweeping on here, but like we're basically in a plank position, like moving down the ice, like engaging our core, our upper body, like getting to like maximum capacity on our heart rates and our breathing rates. And then you have to bring it back down and either go throw a shot in Emma's case, or sweep another run right away. So there is like a huge physical component to what we do out there. And it's not only physically exhausting, but it's mentally exhausting too, being able to just get up and do that over and over and over again.
Well, you have a career as a psychotherapist, as I understand it, which I've learned, which is fascinating to know. First of all, that you work with athletes, potentially like yourself. One of the things we've talked about a couple of episodes ago, we had a mental performance consultant on, and he talked so one of the things that you mentioned was managing the high, right? And then coming down and then trying to get up again for the worlds in just that really brief period. Maybe you can walk us through that, Emma and Sarah. Tell maybe even the younger athlete, how is it that you're able to manage coming from such a high, maybe down to a low, and then get back up on the big picture? And then what about this micro, right? Maybe the team doesn't perform as well in the morning, and then you've got to really reset, level set, get ready for the evening game. So maybe you can talk about both those scenarios.
I'll let Sarah answer from her work side, but we definitely had the first day we had back-to-back games in Korea. And the first game we were playing a team that was our first time at Worlds. We won. It was a little shorter of a game. And then we had another game right after. And we hadn't really managed the jet lag quite yet. And it had only been 5 days. But we were trying so hard at night to stay up a little bit later, but we were so tired. And that second game, we were like exhausted. So that was just a kind of short-term low that we all felt, where we just were like not communicating very well with each other, not doing our normal jobs very well just because of fatigue. And instead of coming out and being like, hey, how are we all doing? Are we all tired? And everyone was like, yes, we are tired. And then we could have kind of found a way to battle through it. We were all kind of quiet about it, being like, I will get there. And then we ended up losing that game. And then you feel the low because you're like, we've only had 2 games. We're 1-1. This event is so hard. We have to, like, it just felt like a lot at the time. And then we bounced back. But yeah, Sarah, I'll let you talk about just the kind of athlete perspective in general with your work.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, Ryan, I'm a psychotherapist. I work with like adolescent athletes. A lot of my work reminds me of like how I was at that age as an athlete, and the highs and the lows were so hard to manage. Like, well, the highs were easy, right? Because you're winning, it's fun, that's what everyone wants to do, and it feels good. But the lows were really hard. And, a lot of the work that I've done personally and that I do with my clients is just being able to tolerate those feelings that come with the lows, be able to move through them, feel them, experience them, and then you can actually bounce back faster from it. Like, so often we find ourselves trying to push away those feelings that come with the lows. And, we often find that by pushing it away, they come back stronger. And if that's like after your next loss or, in the middle of the next game, that feeling like that you're trying to push away that comes with that low isn't going to go away by you simply like trying to ignore it. So just trying to experience it, notice it, accept it, and move through it will help you build the tolerance for it and resilience to bounce back for your next game so much easier.
Yeah, I heard your spot with Bob Weeks a few weeks ago, Sarah. I found it great. You talk about mindfulness. Some of the things that came up with our discussion with Jason Boivin when we had him on, and I'd love your feedback here. Of the people you work with, what are some of the themes that you're seeing working with young athletes? Because as you said, I didn't have access to this when I was a young athlete. It sounds like you didn't. I know Emma didn't. What are some of the themes that you're seeing around these youth that are coming to you, and what are they struggling with, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, part of it makes me so happy that so many adolescent athletes are seeking that support. Like you said, it was something that was probably available when, Emma and I were younger, but it was more stigmatized maybe, or it just wasn't accessed as often. And yeah, there's so many athletes who are really engaging with the mental health side of things for performance-oriented support. And, a lot of the, I guess, themes that I say come up, a lot of areas that I spend a lot of my focus on is actually like attentional awareness. Like, where is your attention right now? Is it serving you a purpose? Is it taking away from the goal you're trying to achieve? And yeah, the amount of times that I say that, I'm like, hey, where's your attention right now? Like, let's stop. Where's your attention going?
Did you call it be where your feet are? Isn't that what you said?
Yeah.
I like that slogan.
I love that. I love it. And it just is for me, it's such a grounding slogan. And just like, be where you are. Like, don't worry about the next shot. Don't worry about what just happened. Like, is that going to help you make the next one? Like, sure, to a point, yeah, you have to learn from what happened, but ruminating on it or really focusing on it, like, that's hindering you. That's not helping you. So just like notice where your attention is, take what you need from it, and then move forward on to the next in whatever sport it is that you're playing.
That's really, I would have loved to have that resource as a kid. It was like, I used to start games, and if I missed my first couple shots of a game, probably wasn't making a shot for the whole game. Like it was like, this is just one of those days. I suck. I'm not gonna make any shots today. Sorry, guys. And it became like this. Okay, how can you not be like that on the ice? And I was like, well, actually, I'm a good curler, so I can fix that, and I'm not gonna miss every shot all game. But that would be in my head when I was younger. Like, if I make my first 2 shots, you're probably getting a good game out of me. But oof, if I miss those.
Yeah. Well, curling. I mean, I've curled a few times. It's not fun. Sorry, it wasn't fun to watch. I'm sure I really enjoyed it, but it's really difficult. When I draw some parallels, perhaps I guess to baseball. I can equate a batter up to bat. It's a very team oriented sport, but there's these individual moments, right, that pop up. I was watching your event last weekend, the Grand Slam event, and the commentator said something like, "Ooh, that was a miss for Emma." And I was like, it looked like a pretty good shot. How do you manage the expectation of a shot versus that wasn't my best throw, and now I got to throw the next one right away? How do you transition that fast? You got the weight of the world. You watch these cameras; they're lining down the ice. Everything's in your face. You've got the banana heads or whatever they were called. That was awesome. Maybe you could explain what those guys are doing. But how do you pivot so fast from one throw to the next?
Yeah, like you said, mindfulness is a huge part of it, because if you don't notice what you're feeling, like if you don't notice that frustration after a miss, like it's going to boil up inside of you and it's going to affect you. Like it'll affect you like physically too, right? You'll get tense, your muscles will get tense. It'll be harder for you to make shots and perform. So just noticing that frustration, learning from it, like finding a curious mindset, like Ted Lasso. Have you seen Ted Lasso? Yeah.
Sarah,
have you watched that? Okay, yeah.
For those of you listening and not watching, I've got my Believe Ted Lasso mug.
That's so
there you go.
Yes,
Goldfish.
Be a goldfish. Yes, exactly, right. So let it go, but also learn from it, especially in curling, similar to baseball, right? Like in baseball, you're seeing the pitches come at you. Like in curling, you're seeing the rocks go down the ice. You're seeing what those paths are doing. And if you're not learning from the previous shot, then you're probably going to miss another one, like in a similar way. So learn from it, notice how you're feeling, and then just drop let it go and go and make the next one. Because I was similar to Emma when I was younger too. Like if I missed a couple shots early, like I would, it was the end. It was so hard to bounce back from. So just shifting it from being frustration to like curious. Yeah.
I feel like at least for me, from the world stage perspective compared to playing at the Scotties or in tour events, I found the pressure of the maple leaf when we first wore it was harder than anything that I'd experienced, especially going at a young age. When the first time that I went with Rachel in 2013, we had started 1 and 2, and the media was all like, how's it feel to be letting your country down, and the way that you're being viewed and the lens that's on you during those events wearing that maple leaf. I felt a lot of pressure with that. So it was definitely challenging that year, and we battled through it. Yeah. But I'm curious, Sarah, with wearing the maple leaf and then with the media and social media the way it is, how did you feel putting that jacket on? And you went in 2019.
Yeah. We didn't have a great performance last year, and the media was all over us. There's so much pressure being a Canadian curler, because historically Canada has always been at the top of the podium, and now the world is just progressing so much at curling. Worlds is really hard. All the teams there are so good. And so we go there, and there's this kind of expectation of us to perform at a certain level. We have that expectation of ourselves as well. And then in the media, you hear all these things like letting your country down, and I can't believe what their record is, all those things. And it's really hard. And it's really hard not to get down on yourself and worry about what all these people are saying about you, and worry about what they think of you. Oh, they're such bad curlers because of their record and all of this stuff. Right. And so for me, the way that I insulate myself from that is just like, I don't look at it. Like I wouldn't engage in social media and like anything that I could control to insulate myself from that. I would just like not look at it during that week. Like, yeah, it's really hard because it's like, it's part of your daily life. Right. But knowing how much that impacts me as an athlete, like knowing that I care about what people think about me. I know that I can't engage with that during events, good or bad, because I know that it can have such an impact on me. And especially in 2019 when we were pretty much at 500 the whole week. So like it wasn't a stellar performance. And so there was a lot of negative feedback going around. So I just knew that I couldn't even see it, because if I did, it would really, really impact me.
Yeah, Emma, I remember I think it was the 2018 Winter Olympics. You guys started 0-3, and I remember that there was a lot of pressure, and it was being talked about. And how could Team Homan be 0-3 on the global stage of the Olympics?
Yeah.
And you rebounded successfully. I think it was 3 in a row after that. But the Olympics didn't go maybe the way you'd hoped it to go. But what was that like? I imagine it was much the way Sarah's described it.
Yeah, it's really tough. And it's just the narrative of, Canadian curlers are supposed to be at the top. And that was historically what was the case. But there are a ton of other countries putting a lot of resources into making their teams very, very good. We won a lot of close games. Even like this year, last year's Worlds, there were a lot of close games in there that we managed to be on the winning side of that could have gone either way because the competition is so good. That 2018 Olympics had that challenge of starting 0-3, but also controversy too, where the media came at us for removing a rock that was burnt, that is well within our right to do so, calling us not Canadian because we made that decision to do that. Yeah. But it's actually illegal to burn a rock. And we have the choice then at that point what we want to do with it. So it's unfortunate that all of that compounds on you when you're in those high pressure situations, and you just want to be in your bubble. You just want to make shots. You want to be with your team. But then all those distractions that come at you are really hard to ignore fully. So it's something that over time you get more used to, and you learn to manage it a little bit better. And we also are really lucky to have someone who manages our social media, but also is kind of our team manager, and she can shield us from some of that stuff from the media. Yeah, and she can also respond, and in a way that when it comes from not us is a little bit easier for everyone to absorb. Yeah. So that's good.
Well, I imagine, it's mindfulness you talk about, Sarah. There's sort of was lost, I think, here after the Worlds was that you qualified for 2026, right? You're the lead qualifying Canadian team. Right,
we qualified Canada for the Olympics.
Yeah, right.
But we still have to earn our spot.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's sort of the first step in this mental climb that you have to do. So anyways, best of luck to that. Well, I wanted to go back though, Sarah. One of the things that I was so blown away by was your success at Laurier. So not only did you have curling success, I think 3 national titles or 3 CIS titles, and then you were also a softball player and won I think, the program's first and only national championship.
I have a terrible memory. This is a little embarrassing. I think we won 2, we won the first one ever, and 2 years later we won it again. Yeah, okay. I believe so. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So here's what I would like to know. I mean, there's never a surprise that, you're at the top of the global game right now. Your team is so accomplished. So it's not surprising to hear that you had success in other areas. What were those common little seeds planted for young Sarah, young Emma, that, young athletes right now are looking at and saying, well, how do I get to that? Because there's a lot of luck and right circumstances that have to germinate that seed over the course of decades. But what were some of those seeds that were the most revealing to you now as an adult looking back that helped you get to where you are, both of you?
I'll let you go first, Sarah.
That's a good question. I think, I was fortunate enough to play so many different sports growing up, and it really broadened my horizons that way. And I got to see kind of what ones I really enjoyed and what ones I was going to stick with, what ones I was good at, right? And got to kind of explore all these different things and just learn what being a teammate's about and what that looks like, how to be coachable, how to listen to what my coaches are saying and take away from that to be better. I think that's probably a common theme for me throughout all of my different athletic pursuits is just learning how to receive feedback, because receiving feedback from like coaches or from teammates can be really hard and really scary, because like it's a threat to you, right? It's like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. And as a kid, or a young athlete, that's hard to hear. So just practicing that and learning how to do that effectively and not taking it personally, can be such a springboard to anyone's athletic career. Yeah, I think that's my answer.
That's a fantastic answer. Something Emma, I mean, I want to hear your answer, Emma, but one of the things before that Emma and I have talked about is maybe parents learning how to cope with that too, right? For young athletes, is knowing that it's not always a threat as you described it. It's part of the development process, and having kids learn how to receive that feedback is part of their whole development process. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great answer. Emma?
Yeah, I think I had similar. I played a lot of sports growing up and learned what I liked, but Rachel and I have been playing together since we were so young that we had success quite young in curling, and it was very fun. So I think like one thing I'd always want, looking back at younger me, and while I did get to be a world champion, and that's so amazing, I feel like something that I never really thought about when I was younger was like making sure that you're enjoying the process. Like the losses don't have to feel like the worst thing that's ever happened to you, because that's what it feels like at the time. It's like the highs and lows are so extreme when you're younger. So making sure like you're actually like enjoying it, win or lose, because losing is part of it. You can't win everything, and you aren't a robot, and you are going to have bad games, and then you're going to learn from those, and it's how you learn from them that's going to make you either great or maybe do something else. And I think like looking back, that's something that while I did get here, I wish that I could have enjoyed the process a little bit more, because it goes by so fast, and it's important to have fun while you're playing your sport. Yeah,
well said. Sarah, has becoming a mother changed your perspective on all this? Has it changed how you approach or view your athletic accomplishments?
I think it kind of gives, I guess, a little bit of perspective in a sense, like of when I meet young kids. Like, I don't know, it feels different. Like I want my daughter to experience that one day. Like, I want her to have role models to look up to. Like, maybe it'll be me if I'm still curling in like 10 years when she remembers it. But yeah, it just kind of, and I think I always thought of it that way too. Like, being a role model is really cool for these young athletes. But even more so, I feel that maybe on a deeper level now with my daughter.
Well, your team is certainly a role model to many. Well, first of all, a restful off season, because as I understand it, you're on to Nashville, I suppose, but then it's a bit of a rest period, right? So what does the off season look like for the Homan Empire?
Take some time to rest. We're going to rest for a bit, for sure. Give our bodies a break, recover from these nagging injuries that kind of build up and pile up throughout the season, and then start training again. Yeah, start the strength training again and get back on the ice in August and right back at it. So
interesting. Maybe one more thing, Sarah, is I get this topic or this, I guess, question a lot. And it's more in I usually get it in the hockey world, but it's prevalent, I think, across youth sports. Injury, right? Recovery from injury. This is a really difficult thing mentally on kids when they become injured. Sometimes it takes them out of the whole tryout phase, so they can totally miss the tryout portion of the season. Sometimes it can affect perhaps their even whole progression within sport. If it's a significant injury to a leg, to a hip, to something like that could impact things as simple as their gait and their mobility. Do you work with athletes on tackling sort of mental side of how to stay present, stay focused, stay positive through injury and the return from that?
Yeah, some of the work that I do with people who experience injuries that could be like, end their career in sport or kind of delay it or make it look a little bit different is a lot of identity work. Like, what does it mean to you to be an athlete? Like, what are other aspects of your life that bring you joy that you really kind of can draw from and are part of your identity? Like, how can we strengthen those so that it's not all so much like I'm a curler, right? Like that can become someone's whole identity. It's like, let's add layers to that identity. So like, if something does happen or when something does happen, there's more to it. You can have other things that you enjoy so that it doesn't feel as as hard when there is that setback, be it from injury or a loss or, you know, anything like that, that kind of pulls you away from your sport for some time. It's like, yeah, what else is there to you, right? Are you just the curler, or are you also like a psychotherapist and a mom and a dog mom and like all these other things, right? So other things that bring you joy during those times can really help those times, you know, not last as long or not feel as hard.
Yeah, I know so many young athletes do have that, you know, narrow focus about their identity, that they relate to their team. So yeah, it can be very difficult to convince a 13-year-old young girl or boy that there's many layers to who you are, and it's okay. You'll return in 2 or 3 months if that's the case, and feeling isolated, right? Feeling isolated during injury can really impact a player and their family.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on our podcast. It's so nice to hear your perspective too, from all the good work you're doing with young athletes, which is a lot of our listeners. So we really appreciate you joining us.
No problem. Thanks so much for having me. It was really nice chatting with both of you.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
No problem.
Enjoy the rest of this offseason. You've earned it. Well, that was just an incredible discussion with Sarah Wilkes, of course, of Team Homan, and Emma's teammate, the lead on Team Homan. I hope all of you really enjoyed and can pull and learn and just really enjoy some of that discussion, hearing about how Sarah has taken on a professional career outside of curling to really give back to the sports world at the youth level. We've already heard from Jason Bovin, as we discussed, as a mental performance consultant. Now we have Sarah with all of that experience, including at the highest levels of her sport, giving back and really helping young athletes cope in today's environment, which is certainly different than it looked when I was going through the sport, certainly. And to have a registered psychotherapist with all of that international and competitive experience, her athletes are certainly fortunate to be engaged with her. And so, to Sarah and Em and the rest of Team Homan, enjoy that well needed rest in the off season that you're coming up on. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of Rinkside, and join us next week as we dive into to someone else who's very familiar with international success wearing the maple leaf. So we hope you'll watch for that and enjoy episode 5 next week. Thanks so much again for joining Em and I on Ringside.